Our clients spend years and years investing in relationships with women-owned businesses and other types of diverse businesses. And more often than not, the exit strategy for those women in those women-owned businesses is to sell their business or, exit at the end. Not a lot of them are choosing the succession planning path, which I think is the harder thing to do because there's a lot of human emotions and dynamics involved, as well as much longer planning horizon, et cetera, et cetera. So your series piqued our interest because there just aren't enough resources out there for women who are planning to do this.
Hi, welcome to the Care to Lead podcast, the show that dives deep into the art of leadership, bringing insights from the foremost thought leaders of our time. Today, I'm pleased to have with me Trista Walker, who is part of my Authority Magazine series on succession planning. Trista Walker is the president and CEO of Baldwin, Obanoff, Incorporated, a renowned full-service creative agency with a focus on experience design and digital innovation. B&O is not only a leader in its field, but is also certified women's business enterprise, showcasing Trista's dedication to diversity and empowerment in the business world. With over 2 decades of expertise in customer experience, design thinking, and omnichannel planning, Trista has successfully guided organizations across a wide range of industries, including life sciences, healthcare, financial services, consumer, government, and media. Her passion lies in creating and executing customer-centric strategies that drive tangible business results, foster customer loyalty, and optimize operational efficiency. Trista also serves on the board and executive committee for the Thomas Jefferson University Health System, one of the largest health systems in Philadelphia. Her commitment to making a difference both professionally and through community involvement is truly remarkable. Trista, did I forget anything or leave anything out of that introduction?
That was so much more than I could have anticipated. Thank you for a lovely, lovely introduction. It's great to be here with you as well.
So I'm so glad to have you here, and I'm excited to dive into some of the things that were in your article. You started your career in finance, right? But you transitioned into digital marketing. So can you share about what drew you to this industry and what shaped your career path?
I'd love to. And I'll try and make it brief because it's, took a left turn at an early stage in my career. I didn't know that a job in creative for someone who wasn't an artist or a designer was possible when I went to college. I was pretty good at math, so I ended up going into a career in finance. And I did that for the first 7-8 years of my career. In the late 90s, to date myself a little bit, when the internet was new, there were lots of these really cool, innovative digital agencies springing up everywhere, including Philadelphia. And I got recruited out of a financial services company by one of those agencies. It was one of the first digital agencies. They were building some of the first branded websites for financial services companies and healthcare pharmaceutical companies. And they were looking for people who had an industry perspective, who could help them figure out how to apply this new channel technology to different businesses. And so they really just wanted people who were smart in their industry, and they were willing to teach us everything. So it was kind of like getting into a startup environment, but for an entire industry, which is a very rare thing to be able to be one of the first people working in a new industry. So I just fell in love with the people, the CEO of the company that I went to work for. He's still a connection of mine to this day. And just never went back, just fell in love with, having a business career, but to be involved in something that was just extremely creative and dynamic. And you never knew what each day was going to hold. So fell in love and never went back.
What do you think you love most?
I love to learn. And I know probably everybody says that, but what I love about it in particular is I feel like we're part of multiple industries. So we're not only part of the experience design, creative and technology industry, but we also feel like we're a part of every one of the industries that our clients live in. So one day I might be working on a challenge for a healthcare brand, next day, maybe a fintech brand, and the next day, a nonprofit. And so not only does the business move very, very fast, there's always an opportunity to learn there, but I feel like I'm learning many different industries all the time. So I like having my hands in lots of stuff and just, being able to apply it to help clients do what they need to do.
I think I can totally relate to that because I think that's what I like best about executive coaching. So like 1 minute you're talking with an engineering CEO and the next minute you're talking with someone who owns a jewelry company in London. So it's just there's never a time to get bored. You're learning new industries. And so I think I can relate to that.
Yeah. Well, I bet you talked to lots of different people in pretty much every field through your journalism career as well as coaching. And, it's just great to learn new things every day. It really keeps you sharp and I think really helps our creative problem solving skills, which just allows us to help clients even better.
So let's talk about the quote. These are the problems that winners have. How's that quote been relevant in your professional journey?
Well, early in my career, a boss recommended a book to me about optimism. And I'm going to forget the name of it at the moment, but I'll share it with you after. I was probably in my early 20s. And it was all about how optimism can help shape your career. And I took to heart a lot of the advice in that book. And so it's just a product of, I guess, always trying to look at challenges as opportunities. And was one of the things that my business partner, Joanna, and I connected on right away because she very much has that same mindset. And I loved that about her right away. So whenever we face a particular challenge on the team, I'll always say, these are the problems that winners have, guys. It'll sometimes come back to me in moments when I'm wallowing in self-doubt a little bit. And that's it's always fun. But I just, it's kind of a quote to me that says, make lemonade out of lemons.
Love that. I love that. What do you believe sets B&O apart from other agencies?
I think our independence has a lot to do with why we're successful. Company was started by my business partner back in 1981, so 40 plus years ago. And she worked in a big company, wanted to do something where she could have flexible time and raise her kids, but also really make a difference. And having worked in a large company, she saw that those large companies were sending a lot of their work to New York City, to big agencies, and she felt like she could play a role there and give Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies an alternative to the big Madison Avenue agencies that they were working with at the time. And, she always prided herself, and this is something that's, been core to the agency's success, is, being very innovative, very creative, and very high customer service. And so we apply that same sort of approach to our employees as we do to our clients. People stay with us a very long time. Our executive creative director has been with us now 30 years. Our head of client services has been with us 18 years. And so that idea that we're always innovating, creating, and having the independence really, to circle back to that topic, to be able to invest in new areas when we see that as an opportunity, pull back if we see an area of our business that's becoming commoditized. It's very easy to be nimble when you're independent. It allows us to pivot very quickly and really focus on what are the emerging needs of our clients. So I would say our independence, which has helped us accrue all of the other things that I mentioned, has been a big part of our success.
I'm curious what it was specifically about succession planning that piqued your interest enough to want to be a part of our Authority Magazine series.
That's an easy one. When Joanna and I were planning our transition, we noticed right away that there were very few resources for women businesses transitioning. We are, of course, part of WeBank, which is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, and they provide a lot of services and support and networking capability for women-owned businesses. There's a lot of resources on how to start a business, how to get funding for your business, how to grow your business, how to make connections in your business. Very few resources about succession planning, particularly for women. So we both got interested in this topic and, we're always looking for opportunities to talk more about it. We work, like I said, mostly with Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies, or I should say a lot of our clients are in that space. And those companies, most of them have goals around working with diverse suppliers and diverse agencies. And so our clients spend years and years investing in relationships with women-owned businesses and other types of diverse businesses. And more often than not, the exit strategy for those women in those women-owned businesses is to sell their business or, exit at the end. Not a lot of them are choosing the succession planning path, which I think is the harder thing to do, because there's a lot of human emotions and dynamics involved, as well as much longer planning horizon, et cetera, et cetera. So I became interested and your series piqued our interest because there just aren't enough resources out there for women who are planning to do this.
Yeah, I think I chose to do the series because working in corporations where we work, I work in the C-suite. I work with C-suite leaders, and a lot of succession planning is on that level. So we know our next level down, but when it comes time for that next level down to go up, there's no one under them and under them. So everybody gets stuck in this role because succession planning truly has to be going on throughout the entire organization. And I think that that's something that people sometimes miss.
I think you're 100% right. And sometimes people get pigeonholed in a particular role, or, companies, especially small and medium-sized businesses, don't have the resources or the capital to make the investments in talent development that some of the larger companies have. And it's just not a focus because so much of the focus is on growing and driving the business and not about what's going to happen in 10, 15, 20 years.
Another thing that I've seen, tell me if you agree with this, is, and I don't know if it's just the same in like the women business enterprises, but what we've seen is a lot of closely held family businesses that are transitioning from generation to generation. There are so many stakeholders that are not really involved in the business because it's a family dynamic. So you've got this one's spouse and that one's sister-in-law and this one's child, and they're all they all have a different agenda. So succession planning and those kinds of scenarios require a level of skill and a level of development. And that's why I wanted to kind of get this topic out there more and talking about it more, because we wait until it's like, all right, this person's ready to retire, they want to get out of it, and nothing's been done. Do you find that the same?
Absolutely. And I truly applaud you for, taking on this topic and finding people who are willing to talk about it and allow others to learn from our successes and our mistakes through this process. There are some organizations. I recently joined an organization called YPO, and they do have some resources to help with transitions for family-owned businesses. It started out of family-owned businesses, but you have to have a certain revenue level and a certain amount of employees and be a certain age to even join that organization. So it leaves, can leave a lot of people out if you either don't know about it or you haven't yet attained the revenue level where you would qualify to be a part of it. So really applaud you for doing this.
Thank you. I think the most unfortunate thing is we just wait too long to even start to think about it. And that's in that small family business as well as in Fortune 500 companies on the lower levels. We're always thinking about it up, but we're not thinking about it at our level.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit more just about leadership. And making difficult decisions is pretty common in leadership. Can you elaborate on a challenging decision that you had to make and how it influenced your leadership style?
Good question. Lots of those every day. I think the decision to join B&O in the first place was one of those decisions. I had recently left another company, started my own agency, and was fortunate enough to have the contacts and the skills and the network to get a big RFP opportunity right away. Ended up partnering with B&O because I was small and didn't have the resources to service that client myself. And pretty much right away, Joanne and I hit it off, and she asked me if I'd be interested in coming on board and ultimately seeing if it was a fit such that I would be her successor and lead the agency forward. And she had been looking for a number of years for a successor and thought about a bunch of different ways to approach it. So when she approached me, I had just come out of a situation where I was with a company that I loved, but the two partners in that business had a bad breakup, let's say. And so I had a pretty bad taste in my mouth about the idea of having a partner, kind of wanted to be on my own and do it myself. So when Joanne first approached me, I wasn't really ready, but we, kept the conversation open. 6 months or so later, she approached me again, and it was a big decision. And to her credit, she said, look, you're starting this thing that, can be yours, and you've got great momentum, and that might be great, but I've got this great agency, great people. I think we really, get along well, like each other, have complementary skills, and I've also got great clients and a legacy. Would you consider coming on board? and leading B&O. So, of course, talked it over with my family, my husband, and ultimately decided that it was worth the risk to do that. And that was 10 years ago, so it worked out well. But it was a tough decision. Do I partner with someone where it's difficult enough to grow a business to begin with, but to do so with the partner that you haven't known for all that long, and you each have your own idiosyncrasies and your ways of approaching things and agreements and disagreements, or do I do this thing on my own? So that was probably one of the most difficult decisions that turned out to be probably the best decision of my career. How it shaped me as a leader, I think, was really diving in so much deeper around the idea of compromise. I think that's the biggest thing that we both learned through this, because she was a lone entrepreneur, had been for a number of years since her previous business partner had retired. And also I'm very different from her previous business partner. So we were learning each other and figuring it out. But I think the art of compromise, expecting some bumps in the road, and just really being able to embrace change and be able to change along with it.
So your answer actually ties right in with the succession planning too, because succession planning involves a lot of nuanced challenges and compromise and all of those things. So it just kind of it's a perfect segue there. And when you're looking at your organization now, organizations that you work with, can you share your approach to identifying and nurturing the talents within your organization so that you can cultivate talent from within?
Sure. I think it's a combination of internal and external, but I think having great leaders in your organization, which we do, who are really invested in developing and supporting talent from within, makes a big difference. I think they see our staff, that is, sees how long some of our leaders have been with the organization. And so for those who really want to land somewhere and spend their career there, they can see the opportunity to advance. And then for others, some of our leaders are newer, or maybe people that I've worked with before in other companies. So I think continually making it clear that anything is possible in the organization. We've had people who have gone from development to project management or creative to strategy. And I think being able to zoom out and look at all the possibilities can identify areas where you may not have thought someone was going to be a successor to someone, but then, they're interested and able to switch tracks and grow in the organization in another area than that you may not have originally considered. But I think talking about it a lot, creating opportunities, and as the company grows, thinking ahead to what that next level is. And as you grow as a company, we just grew to the point about 2 years ago where we realized we needed another layer of management, and we reorganized our teams into industry verticals. And that gave us an opportunity to promote from within. And we did promote from within for all of those roles. And, it was a very satisfying thing to be able to do. Sometimes we're starting a new capability in the agency, or there's a new level needed and we don't have the person who's ready to grow into that role yet. And, in that case, obviously you've got to be open to looking outside the organization. And I've thankfully had the opportunity to work with people again and again in my career. So 2 of those examples were people that I've worked with before that joined the agency. So I think you also have to keep that mindset of developing talent in this organization might be for some future opportunity that you may not even foresee at this point in your career. At this point in my career, B&O is my final destination, so to speak. But for many other leaders in the organization, they may spend their career at B&O and they may move on to another place at some point. So I think recognizing that talent development is not just for, what the things you're thinking about today, but maybe some of the things that you might not be thinking about for another 5, 10, 15 years.
Yeah, that's true. Could you elaborate on any of the methods or processes that you found effective in evaluating the leadership potential of your team members?
Sure. Having a pretty diverse team that has been through lots of different training opportunities, everybody brings a little bit of their own flavor to it, of course. So I can't say we all do it exactly the same way. As a leader, I really encourage my team to lean into their strengths. So I don't want to say to them, you have to do it exactly this way. And they all have different strengths and different approaches to things. So, but that said, I mean, we do have some tools and things that we use, one of which we started using about a year and a half ago is Predictive Index. And Predictive Index helps us to get a sense for where people's natural drives lie. And it has a set of great development tools and discussion guides and planning tools and goal setting tools within it that will help you identify if these are your goals for this person, here's where they might need a little bit more support or guidance or coaching or mentorship. And it helps us really zero in on those specific areas that we need to be paying attention to as leaders to help them grow. But there are, lots of things like that. There's goal setting, one-on-ones, giving them opportunities to stretch within their existing roles. There are a lot of informal ways that we do it, but one of the more formal ways that we've implemented in the last few years is Predictive Index.
If I'm remembering your article, your interview, because there's so many, I think that you were talking about the significance of over-communication in succession planning. Could you provide more insights into the strategy and what you meant by that?
Yes, absolutely. First and foremost, all of my immediate leadership team, we're constantly talking about who's going to backfill you when you move to the next level. Because, optimism, again, I know that we're going to grow and I know that we're going to continue to succeed because we're going to work hard and make sure that we do. So I know that they're going to grow to the next role. So I think being able to set a vision that shows them that they're on a path to growth, even though they're at the, uppermost levels of the organization, but they're not going to be able to do that unless they've got people who can fill their shoes. So, and that kind of goes all the way down the line. I mentioned we reorganized into industry verticals in the last 2 years. That created a whole layer of management that we didn't have before. So we're not only communicating it intentionally and verbally, but we're also demonstrating it in the organization and showing people that those opportunities are there. So I think, verbal and nonverbal communication are really key, and doing so liberally, often, and making sure that people at all levels of the organization know what they need to do to move to the next level. We do that through career pathing, templates, and all of those sorts of things as well.
So you mentioned earlier, and it's very valid, that with succession planning, you have to be able to plan for some bumps in the road because it's never going to just be the smooth sailing. Is there any story from your experience where you kind of come up against a bump in the road during the succession planning process?
I mean, there are lots of times when, I shouldn't say lots, but there are times when you thought that someone would be right for a particular role and it turned out not to be a good step for them, or somebody that you didn't think, would succeed in a way that you didn't anticipate. But I think I'll just stick to some of the examples of Joanne and I working together. You start off a relationship with someone, you're in the honeymoon period, everything's great. I'm happy to find her, she's happy to find me, we're excited about the future. But as you go through the day-to-day, you find things that her approach or focus is this way and mine's that way. And, we've got to come together and figure it out. So there have been lots of those examples where, she had a particular philosophy, I should say, about something, and it was different than my philosophy. And we just approach those moments, try to talk it out. And sometimes she says, let's go your way. And other times I've said, let's go your way. And we go from there. But I mean, there are a million little day-to-day things. One of the early examples, to give you something specific, is, and not that it was a huge bump in the road, but B&O had a profit sharing plan. And, I wanted to move to a bonus plan because we were seeing more and more of that, competitive marketplace. And, we needed to be competitive. And the demographics of the employees were changing. So that played a role in it. So, she felt one way, I felt another way. We worked it out and just, came to a compromise and decided how we wanted to move forward. So, lots of little things like that, just general business philosophy, and really, how do you respect the legacy that has been built over 40 years, but also creating some momentum to evolve things for the future and just kind of keeping that in balance. along with our relationship and making sure that our relationship is always solid and positive.
I think that's such a positive experience for you to have in your back pocket when you're working with other organizations, because it gives you like a level of empathy and understanding, and like you really get what they're going through.
Yeah. I mean, other examples, especially in, mid-sized business where the owner, CEO, president is very involved with clients in the day-to-day business. Some bumps in the road are she had relationships with certain clients, and, I might bring some new clients into the agency that I have developed a relationship with, but not every client that she was close with is going to have the same type of relationship with me. So how do you kind of navigate the transition of relationships when, or even, clients retiring and having to now, she had a relationship with a client that retired, and now there's a new client coming into the picture that we have to kind of start fresh and win over that client all over again. So there's all sorts of things like that with succession planning. And same thing when you're transitioning from, somebody from an individual contributor to a manager. Now two people that were peers, one reports to the other. So there's all sorts of little nuances to that. And I'm sure you've experienced that with your coaching as well as your, the many people you've interviewed.
Yeah, absolutely. And that going to shift gears just a little bit. What keeps you up at night as a leader?
I think the biggest thing is that our industry is changing very quickly, especially with AI and some of the new technology opportunities that are out there in the world. And so I think the biggest thing that keeps me up is how do we shift fast enough to really be able to take advantage of those opportunities while still servicing our day-to-day business. And, we're about 70 people full time. So we don't generally have people that are just sitting on a bench waiting to be, tapped and called into action that we can put on that. So we're trying, and this is nothing new. I mean, I think this is probably one of the things that keeps every business leader up and has from the beginning of time. How do you keep up and evolve so that you can stay a step ahead so that we can help our clients stay a step ahead, while also caring for and, doing the care and feeding of the day-to-day business that we have. So balancing that and trying to make sure we're devoting the right level of focus and resources to each of those areas is probably the biggest thing that swirls in my head when I put my head on the pillow at night.
That's awesome. And I want to ask you if there's one piece of advice that you would give to a young person or a new leader that if I could give you nothing else, take this with you, what would it be?
I would say, true to my personal brand, don't lose your optimism through the challenges, the bumps in the road. I have 3 boys, and they all, in the last 5-10 years, have entered the workforce. And of course, they're finding out not everything is exactly as they thought it would be. And the economy's been challenging, and, it's come out of college and it's not as easy as you thought it would be. And not everything is as structured as you might want it to be. So, I would say don't lose your optimism, because all of the bumps in the road and the challenges are character building growth opportunities. And you will absolutely use all of those lessons later in your career, if not sooner. And then, just come to work every day with your creative problem solving hat on. That's the fun of the work, is to learn new things, figure out new things every day, and enjoy the journey. So keep your optimism in the face of challenges would be my biggest piece of advice.
And I think that's excellent advice. Let me ask you one more question. Is there the best way for people to get in touch with you? How would you like them to find you if they want to work with you or just reach out? Are you big on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so definitely you can find me on LinkedIn. Our website is bnoinc.com. There's an info link there on the website, as well as links to all of our social properties, so you can find us, of course, that way. But LinkedIn is probably the best way to get in touch with me. I'm pretty active, and I do check LinkedIn every day.
And just on that note, for those of us who work with organizations doing succession planning, be active on LinkedIn. There's talent out there. There's a network out there. It's even people like looking to increase their career. They'll call me and they'll say, I think I need to make a change. And like, you look at their LinkedIn profile and they've had a job for 20 years. They've never opened their LinkedIn. I'm like, well, this is your network. Like, this is a whole new world. So I think that was excellent advice to find you on LinkedIn. And I'm glad that you're active.
Critical. Yep. The other thing I would say is, and I often offer this to students I'm mentoring. I am volunteer with the Ryder Women's Leadership Council and have mentored students for a number of years. And I always advise them to go to my LinkedIn profile, find 5 people that you'd like to meet, and just ask me to make an introduction to that person. I am more than happy, especially people who are starting out in their careers. They have 20 contacts, to start with. Of course, with LinkedIn being around for a couple of years, some of them have quite a bit more than that. But I always say, go to my LinkedIn profile, find 5 people that I'm connected to that you'd like to meet, and tell me who they are, and I'll make an introduction for you. It's a great way to get your network started when you're early in your career. And then, those people can introduce you to other people, et cetera, et cetera. So open offer to anyone like that, would like to be connected to any of the contacts that I have.
That's interesting because I just last week had someone reach out to me who had watched one of these interviews. And he reached out to me on LinkedIn and he said, "Hey, Cynthia, you interviewed so-and-so. I would really, really love the introduction. I made that happen. I think they're going to do a collaboration together." And it's like how networking is done today. And it's so powerful. And I just encourage people to use it. So do you have anything else that you'd like to add or anything that you want the audience to know before we wrap up?
I would just say for women-owned businesses, consider succession planning among your exit plan options when you are coming toward the end of your career. I do think it's been a really wonderful experience for Joanne and I wish that more women-owned businesses would continue to be women-owned businesses once they reach the point of success. So with your help, there are more and more resources out there now, people you can talk to about succession planning. So I just love to kind of get the word out that this is a viable option and it's worth considering.
Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed our conversation, and I want to express my thanks and gratitude to our listeners. Leaders who care to lead, and your commitment to personal and professional growth is truly commendable. Remember, leadership is not just a role, it's a responsibility to inspire, empower, and uplift those around us. Together, we can make a positive impact on the world. And stay tuned for more insightful conversations. Until next time, keep caring and keep leading. Thank you.